Welcome back to Get Down to Business, the show all about small business jobs and entrepreneurship. Super excited to be joined by one of the co-authors of a new book, Supercharging the Customer Experience, How Organizational Alignment Drives Performance. And before we even dive in, I know that's something that all of our listeners want to learn a lot about. I'm thrilled to be joined by Dave Stubberfield, who, as mentioned, is the co-author of that book, and he's the director and principal consultant at Carter Consultancy. With over a decade's worth of experience in business transformation, he has been involved with and managed complex and comprehensive projects to improve a variety of businesses with a customer-centric focus. We're going to talk a lot more about all of those things. But Dave, welcome to the program. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. It is a pleasure. So again, the book is Supercharging the Customer Experience. You emphasize the importance of context over content in delivering exceptional customer experiences. Can you elaborate on this point and provide maybe some specific examples of how organizations often prioritize content over the overall customer journey?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so first and foremost, the conversation around context was really what drew me and Alan together, the co-author. And it really, we were discussing how much content there is out there on customer experience. And we're not saying it's bad by any stretch, but what we are saying is it seems to be very out of the box. And certainly in the conversations I've had with potential clients, and just organizations in general, it's, but our circumstances are very different. It doesn't quite work like that. And you need that business organization context to understand truly how you can apply the principles of customer experience. And I think that the best example you could take is if you were going to a traditional law firm, you would go through and walk through the doors and you'd expect to see a certain image. If you cross that with a trendy marketing firm, you would expect to see a completely different thing there. If the two crossed over, you'd be thinking, oh, why has a law firm got people dressed in T-shirts and shorts and got a slide in the middle of the room when we're kind of expecting something else? And for me and Alan, that was really the key point, was that there's so much content out there, but why is a great customer experience still so rare? And we think it's down to context. Absolutely.
Again, chatting with the co-author of a great book, Supercharging the Customer Experience, and that's Dave Stubberfield. Dave, we're going to get to know you a little bit better in the next couple of minutes, but I'm curious how organizations can effectively align their various teams or areas of focus, maybe departments, to create a cohesive customer experience. What are some common pitfalls that you've seen to avoid in that process?
I think the first one is creating or harnessing a customer experience team and just kind of leaving them in their own little silo. You're not doing any good by doing that. You want to have those individuals in that team that sort of disseminate around all of the different organization, different departments and functions. So you've got development, deployment, support, whatever it might be. You've got customer experience people that are tapping into all of those areas, breaking down the silos, so that if there's a piece of feedback that comes direct from a customer at an operations level, you've got the ability to translate that feedback straight back to, development, so they can really enhance the user experience if that's what the feedback's all about. So it's breaking down those barriers, breaking down those silos. So I would say that's the biggest pitfall is bringing in a customer experience team. The second one is probably sponsorship and leadership. I think leaders quite often say, yeah, we'll do that. And it's just a tick box exercise. So we're really looking to try and buy into the whole methodology of customer experience.
Absolutely. And your book focuses on organizations of all sizes. Can you share some specific strategies for small businesses to implement your framework with, might I say, some limited resources?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for me, again, being one of those small businesses, if you like, it's what do we want to be? What do we want to stand for? So starting with that brand identity, that's one of the key elements in the book, is understanding our brand. And that's not just the logo and maybe the slogan. It's the values of the organization. It's the vision, where we want to get to. What's our mission? What are we trying to achieve? So understanding, are we all on the same page? So if you're a small organization of, let's say, up to 12 people, you want to have that conversation with people and say, what are we doing here together? Are we all pulling in the right direction, or have we all got different targets that we're aiming for? I would say that's the first place to start.
Oh, that's great. So, as mentioned, I'm really curious just before we cut to break to learn more about you and where your interest and fascination with this world of customer experience came from. Tell our listeners a little bit of background that may be interesting to them.
Yeah, absolutely. So my journey started in the world of lean and continuous improvement, and really kind of looking at the way things work and the process. And as I was kind of growing and understanding how that all worked, customer experience just kind of raced to the top. And for me, it was in order for that to be a success, you need to have customer centric vision, strategy, understanding, empathy, all of these things. And the closer you can get to your customer, the better it'll be. So for me, it's trying to align customer experience with continuous improvement and change management, how organizations handle change. Those for me that's my triangle of truth. The three of them are intrinsically linked. So that's my background. And I do a lot in the space of training and facilitating workshops as well.
Absolutely. And the book, once again, the book is called Supercharging Customer Experience. We're going to continue our conversation with Dave in just a moment. But Dave, just before we cut the break, who's the ideal reader of the book? How can it benefit different roles within an organization?
Yeah, I think it's really, really vast. It could be the senior leader. It could be someone that's a CX practitioner. It could even be someone that wants to get in the field and understand more about how they can engage with their customer better. So it's really designed to be fit for everyone that's reading it, even if you're not entirely sure what customer experience is really all about.
Oh, fantastic. Dave Stubberfield, thank you so much. Can't wait to have you back on in just a moment after this quick break as we continue chatting about supercharging the customer experience. You're listening to Get Down to Business. We'll be right back. We're back on Get Down to Business, and I'm continuing my conversation with Dave Stubberfield, who is the co-author of a fantastic read, and I mean it fantastic. It's called Supercharging the Customer Experience. We were just chatting before the break about how this focus on customer experience, yes, it's particularly relevant actually for small businesses, and it's applicable to organizations of all sizes. Dave, welcome back. And, I am really, really curious. One of the developments that we're seeing out there, again, in many different industries and many businesses of all sizes is artificial intelligence. That two-letter word AI. I'm curious, how do you see artificial intelligence impacting the future of customer experience? And what role will it play in enhancing customer interactions and personalization?
Yeah, I mean, AI is everywhere, and it's only going to grow, and it's growing at an exponential rate already. For me, I see the future being those kind of technological advancements, AI, augmented reality, whatever it might be. I think right now we're in a phase of transition where people need to be very careful with the AI they're implementing. I've seen a lot of organizations throw a lot of time, effort, and money into implementing AI with no real kind of goal of what they want to try and achieve. They just want to have it. And at the same time, they've kind of neglected their customers. So the time and effort they've spent in trying to get AI to work for something they probably didn't have a solution for at the time, they've kind of lost in touch with their customers. So AI massively important as we move forward. But I think the personal touch is very, very important. AI is getting better at becoming emotive and showing empathy. But I would say it's got a long way to go.
Dave, and one of the most important things that we can do is, of course, measuring success, because we can talk about all of these great concepts in the world, but ultimately, what are some key performance indicators, also known as KPIs, that organizations should track to measure the success of their customer experience initiatives?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think in the book, we mention how KPIs are traditionally used, and we kind of question, are they needed anymore? And it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek kind of comment because, yes, we absolutely need key performance indicators. But I think the sentiment behind that is, are we measuring things for the sake of it? Are we measuring things because we've always done it that way? What we really want to try and do is understand what customers value, what's important to them, and are we measuring that? What's critical to the customers and what they really, really, truly value and what they want? Key ones that are out there, Net Promoter Score, that's massive. And I think that's probably got a tendency to be overused in places. It's still a really good indicator for what you can sort of judge as a good organization. But for us, the book really kind of digs into the measurement and the insight. it's all well and good having that net promoter score, but you need the insight to go with it. So if someone's given you a detractor score of, let's say, a 4 or a 5, we need to know why. Without that, it's almost meaningless. And I think a lot of KPIs, to a degree, have become vanity metrics, because we need to have it. We need to be seen to be doing something, or we need to look good. If you're trying to drive improvement, you should be looking at the insight and let that drive the KPI measure, rather than focusing on the score of the KPI to drive that improvement. That's my personal opinion anyway.
Well, I've certainly learned a lot in our conversation, Dave, and I want to make sure our listeners can find the book and get in touch with you and your team. How can they do that?
Yeah, myself and Alan are very active on LinkedIn. So that's Dave Stubberfield and Alan Williams. My website is carter-consultancy.com and Alan is servicebrandglobal.com. We're more than happy to have conversations with people, even if it's questions around the book or the training and development framework we've put together. No question is too silly, because I ask a lot of questions myself. So that's the power of what I do, I guess. But happy for people to get in touch.
Yeah, well, what a great conversation. Certainly I've learned a lot in chatting with Dave Stubberfield about the customer experience, and certainly a lot with all of our guests today on Get Down to Business. That's a wrap for us this week. We'll be back, of course, next Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on AM 560 The Answer, or wherever podcasts can be found. So again, just search for Get Down to Business on your favorite app. Be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and share. Get on my website, syklein.com, so you don't miss a single episode. To success! Let's get down to business. We'll see you next week. Have a great week.